All right, so I just got back from work and I'm not quite ready to go to sleep yet. I'm just not sleepy. So, and it's like almost 8 o'clock in the morning. It's 7:35 by my time. I probably should be sleepy because I've been up all night working, but I'm just not. I got action figures to open, man. How can I sleep when I got action figures to open? So this is the second in this wave of superpowers that I got. I got Jason Todd, which I opened in the last episode at the same time that I opened the crowdfunding Robin figure. So we have all those Robins to open. And this time we're going to open up the Atom. Now, why did I pick the Atom? Well, I wasn't sure which one I wanted to open. So I just reached into the box that I had these superpowers figures in and grabbed one at random. And it turned out to be this guy. So the other two figures that I have left to open are Lobo, which was actually the last one I got. He was sold out on a Big Bad Toy Store for the pre-order, so I wound up getting him on Amazon. And of course, since it's Amazon, I got him like super late compared to the rest. But hey, I had to sit on these anyway because I was doing other projects, so it worked out all right. Uh, I got Lobo and I got the Golden Age Flash. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up this guy, and in the next episode I'm gonna open up Lobo, and you can bet I got some things to say about that figure. And then I'm gonna open up Jay Garrick last. And the reason I decided to do that is because both these guys share the same body, they share the same basic buck, and I don't want to do the same figure twice in a row, basically. I mean, like, I already did a video where I talked about the two Robins at the same time, and then I got to talk about the Superpower Splash mold like twice in a row. Now we're gonna break it up and put Lobo in the middle. So we got Adam here, Ray Palmer. While he is one of the satellite era of the Justice League, he's an important character, Silver Age mainstay, created by one of my favorite comic book artists, Gil Kane. Not a guy who got a lot of merchandising. You know, when Mego did superheroes in the 1970s, there's a lot of superheroes they overlooked. There wasn't Green Lantern, there wasn't the Flash, even though they did Kid Flash for some reason. Didn't do the senior Flash. Didn't do Barry Allen. Didn't do Hawkman. He's a little more understandable, I think, because of the wings. But I think Mego could have easily pulled off doing Flash or Green Lantern or the Atom. I mean, those are pretty simple figures to make, I think. But they didn't do the Atom, and of course, the Atom didn't pop up in the original Superpowers line either. And I kind of suspect the reason for that is because usually when you see the Atom in the comics, he's shrunken down to tiny size. And in fact, when he's at normal size, his costume is actually invisible and you can't see it because tricks with shrinking and growing and everything. So that's Ray Palmer. He'll just be wearing regular clothes. When he shrinks down to Atom size, then the Atom costume appears when he shrinks. So something to do with molecules or something. I don't know. I'm not like an expert in dwarf star matter like our boy Ray is, but he figured out a way to make it work. So very rarely would you see a full-sized Atom in his costume. And as far as I'm concerned, it's probably something you should never see. It should just always be, the Atom should always be like a tiny guy. So if they were to make a figure of the Atom, they would have to make a really small figure of the Atom. So of course here he's what are you gonna do? You got to make a figure of, if you're gonna make a figure of the Atom, he's got to be the same size as everybody else. So we'll grant them a little bit of creative license as far as that goes. But the great thing about the Atom, which I've pointed out before, because I've opened the multiverse figure of the Atom on this channel, the great thing about the Atom, and likewise his Marvel counterpart Ant-Man and the Wasp, is that the Atom, every action figure of him is in 1/1 scale. This guy can be whatever size he wants to be. So if I was to the cosplay as Hawkman, I don't think anybody really want to see that. I ain't got the body type for it, folks. But I could just hold this guy in my hand like he was my best friend. Because him and Hawkman, they're bros. Every DC superhero in the Silver Age seems to have their character that they kind of bro up with. Uh, of course, Superman and Batman appeared constantly in World's Finest. Flash and Green Lantern, they were bros, and Hawkman and the Atom were bros. They were besties. And then when you got into the Bronze Age, you had the friendship between Green Lantern and Green Arrow, and like the animosity between Green Lantern or Green Arrow and Hawkman, which I thought was pretty interesting. But yeah, Hawkman and the Atom were supposed to be best pals, so that was pretty interesting. Anyway, here's what the back of the package looks like. You can see it's got the classic Silver Age Atom logo on here, and this illustration of the Atom, which is fairly interesting, and I'm going to talk about it. First thing I want to point out is that he doesn't have any ears. That's something that's screwed up there, and you might be thinking to yourself, how could a talented artist like Jose Luis Garcia Lopez in the DC Style Guide, which is supposed to set the look for all these DC characters, how can an artist of his caliber forget to draw the ears on the Atom? Well, there's a funny story behind this. Jose Luis Garcia Lopez did not draw a picture of the Atom here. He drew a picture of Batman. They actually took an image of Batman out of the style guide that Jose Luis Garcia Lopez drew, and they modified it to be a picture of the Atom. Yeah, crazy, isn't it? I guess because he wasn't getting any action figures at the time, they didn't bother to do much artwork of the Atom in the style guide. Now, maybe somebody out there who has a copy of the style guide, because they recently released it, uh, in book form. Maybe somebody can tell me if there's any artwork of the Atom in there that I don't know about. But I did a quick Google search just to see if I could find any artwork, any drawings of the Atom by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. And the first thing that popped up in my Google search was a sketch that he did of the Golden Age Atom, Al Pratt. And then the second one was actually the atomic skull from Superman. And the only picture that I could find, and like I said, maybe there's one out there and I just couldn't find it. Maybe it just wasn't popping up in my Google search. But the only one that I could find was an illustration of the entire Justice League, and it's just a little teeny tiny picture of the Atom standing on Batman's shoulder. And that's it. That's the only picture I could find that Jose Luis Garcia Lopez ever drew of Ray Palmer. At least it's the only one in a Google image search. So if anybody knows of another one, please let me know. I would love to see it. We got a comment from Shawnee Ma. We're Batman. Yes, we are. And apparently so is Ray Palmer in this in this picture. But yeah, they just kind of redrew him without the cape, altered the belt, the trunks, and he's still got Adam has pretty similar boots to Batman anyway, and yeah, it's a picture of Batman. So let's go ahead and read the bio on the back, and it says Ray Palmer is a science liaison to Shade and a hero in his own right as the Atom. He's also the creator of the Ant Farm, a pioneer in miniaturization technology and a welcome addition to the Justice League of America. I'm thinking a lot of this stuff is stuff from the more modern era, because Shade is definitely like a more modern thing. So yeah, that's a lot of comics I haven't read yet. I read the Gil Kane, the Silver Age Atom stuff, and I read some Sword of the Atom, the old '80s series. That one's pretty good. And then they did a series in the '90s. I read some of that one. I think Roger Stern was the writer of that one. Pretty decent. But yeah, that sounds like it's more modern type stuff. Anyway, let's go ahead and open them up. Chowny Ma says, Ayo Allen, dude, great figure. How many are there in the line? That's the whole line right there, except for the crowdfunding figures. I got the crowdfunding package here. Yeah, I believe that should be all of them that have been released so far. If you want to pause the video once the live stream's over, you can check all those out. But yeah, in this wave that I have, there was the Atom, uh, Jason Todd, which I opened last episode, Lobo, which will be the next episode, and Golden Age Flash, which will be the fourth and final of this wave that I have, unless I get lucky and happen to find the black suit mullet Superman, which I would really like to have, but at this point, I've kind of given up hope that I'm going to find it, even though I would really like to have that one. But Walmart's not really carrying superpowers anymore currently, and I haven't really had a chance to get into GameStop. So what are you printing back there? That's going to be Medusa from the original Clash of the Titans movie. It's a 3 3/4 inch figure that somebody put up on Cults 3D. And I've printed it out before, but I think it got lost when I moved. So I'm not. But I figure I can just print out another one. It's fine, whatever. But the arm kind of messed up when it was. I had all the pieces on there, and the arm kind of messed up. So I'm gonna have to reprint that arm, and I'm not sure how the head turned out, but I think maybe some of the snakes didn't print out right. But I'm gonna take a look at it once I get it all done. Anyway, let's go ahead and open up the Atom. Yeah, it's kind of strange to me that they didn't have any artwork of Ray Palmer by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. Seems like an oversight. He's an overlooked character, is the thing. Like, he's not quite as popular as, say, Green Lantern or the Flash as far as Silver Age characters go. So he does get overlooked somewhat. So yeah, he uses the entire body of the Flash, the previous Flash figure that we've seen, except for these boots. These are new boots because you see, like I said before, he basically has the same boots as Batman. So they had to give him the boots with the points at the top. And then he's got a new belt because obviously he doesn't need that lightning bolt belt. And then he's got a new head, which seems to be like a little bulbous, but they probably want it to represent that he's got a big brain, he's a smart guy, and you can see he's got that little atomic symbol printed on there. He does have ears, unlike the illustration on the package. He does have ears, and they are painted in flesh color. And then he's got a little atom on his belt buckle too. So he turned out pretty cool. Nice coloring on this one. A nice rich blue to it. Nice bright red. Looks really cool. And like I said, he mostly reuses the Flash's body, which made sense to me because when I got some extra Flash figures when they were marked down at Walmart, one of the things I was thinking I might do for a custom was actually to do the Atom, but I decided to wait. See if Mcfarlane did one themselves, and they did, and he turned out quite nicely. Looks a lot like the 7-inch figure, which makes sense since. Anyway, let's talk about the articulation. So the Atom's head rotates all the way around. His arms rotate all the way around the shoulders. Keep in mind, this is a 1980s style action figure, so the articulation is a little more limited than we're used to these days. He's got like most figures back then have 5 points of articulation, and the Atom is pretty similar to that. His legs kick up about that far, kick back about that far, so you can do the splits no problem. And then he's got an articulation at the knee, which is accurate to superpowers. Like I said, most action figures back then were 5 points of articulation, but Superpowers actually gave us a couple of extra points with knee articulation. So yeah, that was a little bit of an extra bonus for us. Shawnee Ma says, do the figgies have any action figure gimmick? Unfortunately, no. The Mcfarlane figures don't have that. They're just pretty much just solid action figures with no power action gimmicks. For anybody watching who's unfamiliar with the 80s superpowers figures, since I still happen to have Robin here, and his gimmick works pretty well. He had like a karate chop action. Commonly, figures would have a punching action where you squeeze their legs and their arms would move up and down like that, like they were punching. That was pretty typical. Brainiac had a kick, which resulted in lots of broken Brainiacs because that was a very brittle figure. Aquaman and the Flash both kicked their legs. For the Flash, it was supposed to represent running. For Aquaman, it was supposed to represent swimming. Green Lantern raised his power ring. The Hawkman flapped his wings, obviously. Wonder Woman did the whole bullets and bracelets thing. Superman and Batman both punched. Joker had a swinging mallet feature. Penguin had a swinging umbrella feature. Pretty much the same thing, but they had different weapons. And Lex Luthor also had the punching feature, but in his case, he had a removable breastplate. And when the breastplate was on him, it pressed down a button on his back. And when that button was pressed, that was when he did his full nuclear punch. But if you took the breastplate off, the figure wasn't at full power. When the button was released, he didn't punch quite as well. So that was an interesting second gimmick that they had on there, which I thought was pretty neat. Anyway, the Atom's a pretty cool figure. The ironic thing is that since some of these figures, especially the early ones like the Flash here, they're a little tall as far as like the vintage superpowers go. So Batman here is a little closer to what a vintage superpowers was, and you can see he's just slightly shorter than the Atom there. And the Atom probably, like the original Flash figure, if they'd used that one, for example, he actually was a lot shorter than Batman. So the Atom actually is a little taller than a lot of your characters would be. That's kind of funny. But and like I said, usually in the comics, the Atom was if he was wearing his costume, that meant he was shrunk down. You very rarely saw the Atom in this costume when he was at full size like this. But it's still a really cool figure, and it's definitely worth picking up. I mean, he is an important character in the Silver Age comics, so I wouldn't want to, not have a superpowers Atom. Oop, I'm dropping. But like I said, he's technically 1/1 scale. This is a proper size for like if the Atom was like a real guy, he'd be a tiny little guy like this. So that's pretty cool. And since the multiverse figure came with the miniature figure that's about that tall, you could line them up on your shelf with like the little miniature figure and then the larger one, and then like the Mcfarlane figure, the multiverse figure, and it could look like he's shrinking. That could be really cool to do. Maybe I'll take a picture like that later. That might be fun to do. Hey, Zazzle's Clubhouse is here, and he says, "Howdy." Well, howdy right back at you. We're at the tail end of this episode. We're almost done, but that doesn't mean I'm done with superpowers, because I've still got Lobo coming up, and I've still got the Golden Age Flash, and then we're on to DC Multiverse, and we've got a ton of DC Multiverse to open up. So it might be I'm probably going to wind up breaking that up, because I wound up doing all those He-Man figures, all of them in a row, and did He-Man for a while. So I might wind up breaking those up. I know I had some sub themes that I wanted to do within the multiverse figures. Like I've got I want to do Golden Age. I want to do Flash villains, because I wound up like acquiring a bunch of Flash villains. Like not all at once, but just kind of wound up realizing, oh, I've got Reverse Flash, I've got a Captain Cold, I've got a Gorilla Grodd, just kind of accrued them over time. And then most recently, I found Heatwave marked down at Walmart to like $8, ridiculously cheap for a multiverse figure. So yeah, we're gonna do a Flash villain series within that. We got lots of cool Superman figures, lots of cool Batman figures, lots of other characters. We got Supergirl, we got Bizarro, we got Doctor Fate, we got Two Face, we got Adam Strange. A lot of really cool stuff coming up in the near future. So in the coming weeks, we'll be getting onto those. Plus, I'm not done with Masters of the Universe. Every time I get out, they pull me back in. I got that King Randor figure I got to open up, and as I mentioned before, in my Big Bad Toy Store pile of loot, I got the 4 pack of they call them army builder figures, but I'm not gonna buy like a whole bunch of these a whole bunch of these 4 packs. So they're just going to be individual characters in my Masters of the Universe, and I'll explain what I'm going to use these characters for. But yeah, that Masters of the Universe 4 pack should be really cool. Looking forward to opening up that once I get that in the mail. I've got Hurricane Hordak coming from Matty Collector, and I keep calling him Matty Collector, Mattel Creations. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I think it's probably about time for me to try to get some sleep. I don't know how successful I'm gonna be, but probably I'm gonna eventually knock out and sleep for like 12 hours or something. It's gonna be ridiculous. Uh, let's see. Chani Ma says, "Man, you know a lot about the figs and the artists. Respect." Well, I try to. Some people say I talk too much, but I kind of feel like, if you're watching this channel, it's probably because you want to hear me talk. So I'm going to keep talking. Sorry. I mean, like if you want to not hear me talk, like there's lots of other YouTube channels that I don't talk on. So you watch one of those. Chowny Ma says, I've been drooling. Oh, I was trying to read that and it clicked up on me. I've been drooling over the knockoff Bruticus Transformer Combiner Oversized Warbatron. Wow, that sounds cool. Lone Dragon says, boo. Well, you know, can't please everybody. Cercer says, did you like any of the Full Moon Puppet Master toys? Yeah, I thought they were pretty cool toys. I remember them back in the day, but I never actually had any of them. I never saw any of those movies, but I did think they were really cool action figures. So, yeah, I did think they were pretty neat. But I never actually saw any of the Puppet Master movies. Maybe should I check them out? Should I go? They're probably on Amazon because I know there's a bunch of Full Moon movies on Amazon. I watched Dr. Mordred on there. Dr. Mordred was where they had the rights to Doctor Strange and they started making a Doctor Strange movie, but it took them so long to make it that they lost the rights before they started shooting. So at the last minute, they changed all the characters' names. So Doctor Strange became Dr. Modred, but that was almost the first Doctor Strange movie. Jeffrey Combs would have been Doctor Strange. How cool would that have been? Cersair says, just ran into your channel today. Well, welcome. Good to see you. The movies kind of suck, but the figures are nice. Well, they got Rift Tracks versions of some of those movies on there. Maybe see if they got Rift Tracks of Puppet Master. Those would definitely be worth watching because at least that would be funny. I like Rift Tracks. So anyway, but yeah, glad to see you. Glad you found the channel. So hope you enjoy it if you stick around and find some cool stuff to enjoy. Anyway, that's it for the Atom. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, make sure that you like, subscribe, and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the Atom, both the character in general and this figure specifically. We'll be back on the next episode with Lobo. And at some point in the near future, I'm supposed to do another live stream with Captain Have Fun. I don't know if that's going to be on my channel or on his, but I'll try to keep you guys posted about that. If it pops up on his channel, I'll let you know it's over there. And if it pops up on this channel, obviously you'll see it on this channel if you're already subscribed. So that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time. Bye.